Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy. Today, we're going to be talking about UFC St. Louis, UFC STL. Derrick the Black Beast Lewis versus Rodrigo Nascimento. And my friends, it's going down this Saturday night live at the Enterprise Center in St. Louis, Missouri. You got two top 15 heavyweights. Derrick Lewis, the all-time KO leader in the UFC. Rodrigo Nascimento trying to make a name for himself. My guest co-host for the day, UFC bantamweight Garrett Armfield, who's from Missouri, is going to be at the fights. And you're in STL as we speak right now?
No. I'm not leaving until later tonight. I'm waiting for my girl to get off work, and I got to get some training in later today as well. So
nice.
Because I still got my fight coming up. So you know that saying, no days off. So
I respect it. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, and my man.
Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like this. So let's get down to business.
Let's get right down to business, because in the main event, we got Derrick Lewis. He's 27-12, taking on Rodrigo Nascimento, who's 11-1.
Yeah.
And currently, they got it. Derrick Lewis minus 170. The comeback on Rodrigo Nascimento is plus 145. And it's interesting, Garrett, because when you think about a Derrick Lewis fight, it's one of those things where, obviously, like I said, most knockouts in the history of the sport. And when he gets off on that Black Beast blitz, you'll see the flying knees. You'll see the punches and bunches. His ground and pound's absolutely devastating. And one thing I've always respected about his defensive grappling game is, like, you'll get taken down a lot in fights. Like, you understand that, I understand that, but he's very good at, when he's on bottom side control, he's able to go into turtle and explode back up, and that's where he gets off on that Black Beast blitz. And Rodrigo Nascimento, listen, 5-1, 6-1 in the UFC. He's been paying his dues. He's a young kid. He's a young heavyweight fighting out of ATT. And I like the progression I've been seeing, but I remember this fight he had against Alonzo, who ended up, washing out the UFC, went like 0-3, 0-4, whatnot. And dude, Rodrigo gave me the scare of scares in round one. Waldo almost had him out of there. Rodrigo was able to bite down on that gum shield and dig deep. And I really respect that quality in a fighter, but against the Black Beast, you got to know where you are to find that second gear. And Derrick Lewis doesn't often give those kind of opportunities. Just to put it in perspective, Garrett, Francis Ngannou didn't want to exchange with the Black Beast. How do you kind of see this fight going down?
I think it's a good fight for Derrick Lewis to kind of get back on track. This guy he only really wins split decisions and unanimous decisions in most of his UFC fights, which as heavyweights, that's really not something you usually see. You usually see the heavyweights are the fights that get finished in the first round, because all they have to do is connect once. It just kind of depends what fighter in Derrick Lewis shows up, because and also he's fading Jailton Almeida is a different level of competition than Rodrigo Nascimento. So my pick is definitely Derrick Lewis by finish.
And speaking of that Almeida fight, obviously, the scorecards 50-45, 50-44, whatever you want to say, but the fact that a jiu-jitsu caliber guy that high up was able to take down Lewis consistently, and he wasn't able to set up any of his submissions. It's like Black Beast is able to explode up from the worst spots, and he almost bench pressed Jailton over him at times. I was like, damn, I wish I could get away with that kind of raw power and athleticism. But us little guys got to get the techniques down and pat, So
I'm going definitely on Derrick Lewis on this one for sure. I'm just a big fan of Derrick Lewis, and I think he's just one hell of a fighter, and he's a great human being. And I just don't know much about the Nascimento guy. I honestly have never heard of his name before this fight. So, I just hope Derrick can get back to his winning ways and get the win here.
Same. And when he gets to his winning ways, not only does he produce some of the most exciting knockouts in the history of the sport, but the post-fight interviews, his balls was hot, taking off his shorts. What's not to love about Derrick Lewis? So, of course, as a fan, you got to root for him. From a market perspective, because I am a gambling man, when you have to lay this kind of chalk on him, you just got to be aware of the fact that, Derrick Lewis probably isn't going to be stuffing takedowns. Derrick Lewis, he has to win in one way and one way only, but he leads the UFC in that way of winning. And I think there's a very good chance he gets it done here by knockout as well. So we're both on the Black Beast in the main event. Co-main event of the evening in the welterweight division. We got Joaquin Buckley. He's 18-6, taking on the Uzbekistani Nursultan Ruziboev, who's 34-8-2. And Garrett, that's all we know about, because you know for a fact this guy probably had a bunch of fights back over there in Uzbekistan that aren't even on his record, plus the street fights, plus, you know, so when you see a 34-8-2 record, that's something to take note of. But what's interesting here is he's dropping to welterweight, and I'm sure you've already heard, Garrett, this guy's 6'5", and to drop to welterweight at a height like that, goddamn. But you'll see some guys on this card at welterweight that are pretty damn big too. For example, Trey Waters, who's fighting later on in the card. I think this guy's like, what, 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". Kevin Jousset, who's fighting my boy Jared Gooden. He's a big welterweight too. So the welterweights are getting, every weight class, the dudes are getting bigger and bigger as the years progress. But the thing about it, man, is I said this the last time I broke down a Nursultan fight. I kind of think the cap and the ceiling is, I view him as like, you know, a solid top 30, kind of like a Gerald Meerschaert kind of guy. If you're not ready to enter the top 25, the top 15, Nursultan's not only going to set you back, but he's going to do so in impressive fashion, Garrett. I mean, we're talking about a guy who on the mat, he's got a nasty Kimura trap game, which like you don't often see from guys that size, and like 12 wins by knockout, 20 wins by submission. The times where his ratio is the worst, like look at this. He's 12-1 to the knockout in terms of 12 wins, 1 loss, 20-1 to the submission, but he's 2-6 to the decision. So what that tells me, Garrett, is if you can extend this guy and turn it into a real fight, more often than not, when he's not getting his early finish and he's not kind of front running a bit, that's where you could kind of extend him, gas him, and potentially get him out of there. So have you been impressed with Buckley's recent improvements dropping to 70s?
Yeah, I am. I've always been a big fan of Buckley. And I think he's a marketing genius as well. I think Buckley has like a lot to offer for, you know, fighters around my realm or the guys that just get to the UFC on how to carry yourself, how to relate to fans, and how to grow your brand. So I'm definitely a big fan of him, and he's an exciting fighter that, you know, always looks for the finishes. So, you know, this is a hard fight to score because the other guy is, I know he trains in Philadelphia, and I know that team very well, and they are very great people. So, you know, I'm gonna have to go with Joaquin Buckley on this one. Numancia is a man, and especially with the hometown advantage, you know, it's kind of like the stars are aligning for him to go out there and get a one hell of a finish and just continue to grow who he is as a person and as a fighter. So, you know, my pick is definitely Joaquin Buckley on this one.
Did you say Nursultan Ruziboev has been training in Philly?
Yeah, he trains at a gym called Renzo Gracie, Philly, or it's like Marquez MMA, but it's owned by a guy named John, and then I think Daniel Gracie used to own them, but Daniel Gracie I think moved to Vegas or whatever it may be. I don't know the story. I've actually like had them in my corner once for a fight. Whenever there was an issue with the flight for my fight or my coach, and so these guys stepped in and filled the hole for me. And they're really cool guys, but you know, so it's like a hard matchup because it's a really great camp that dude comes from. But you know, I'm never one to count out Joaquin Buckley, so I feel like this one's like a pick 'em, but I'm leaning Joaquin Buckley.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting and a big talking point: 6'5" versus 5'9". But this isn't the first time that Buckley's had to close the distance on a much larger man. I mean, you saw his fight against Nasruddin Imavov, who, I mean, that dude would have to cut off a leg to make 170. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
He's been proven against much larger men. It's just this could be considered a letdown spot in the sense that you just beat Vicente Luque in a co-main event. You just got your top 15 ranking in the welterweight division, which is what you were trying to attain for all this time. Now you're kind of taking a risky fight where this guy has everything to gain, nothing to lose. If Ruziboev loses here, I mean, what's the big deal? You match him up with his next opponent, but like Ruziboev wins here, all of a sudden he cracks the top 15, and Buckley's the one that's going to have to start things over again. So it is a very risky fight, but I do think that he's going to be able to shine in the co-main event, especially if he can extend this fight. And once the thing about Buckley fights is they start off kind of slow when he's trying to find his range, right? Because he's historically the much, shorter, smaller man. But once he's able to finally find that distance and are you barking at me? Does that mean that Ruziboev's live? Usually when my dog barks, that means the dog is live. But I got to go with Buckley here as well. The experience. And again, I think the ceiling for Ruziboev is in the top 30, whereas I think Buckley is a top 15 guy. And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like with the whole ceiling thing, there's definitely guys that have late resurgence or late surges in their career. So I would never cap a ceiling on a fighter because, fighters are able to grow. And that's why we're in the top division of the world, is because we don't have ceilings and we become as great as we want to be. It's all up to us and what we want to do with our sport. And it's about who we have around us and who we surround ourselves with. So either of the guys can be future champions, Never count a man out.
Featured bout in the light heavyweight division. We got Alonzo Menifield. He's 15-3-1, taking on Carlos Ulberg, who's 9-1. Currently, they got it. Carlos Ulberg minus 270. The comeback on Alonzo Menifield is plus 230. So I gotta admit, I've been very impressed with the improvements that Menifield's been making lately, and more so than improvements, Garrett, I think it's the confidence. It's starting to feel like you belong inside the octagon, because I'm sure you can relate. Like, even though you've come out hot out the gate, like, it's different fighting in the UFC compared to fighting in the regional shows, the lights, everything. And I gotta say that Alonzo Menifield, like when he first came in the UFC, I mean, you see what the guy looks like an absolute specimen, was knocking guys out left and right on the regionals, but he had to pay his dues. He had to go through his ups and downs. And now we're starting to see the Alonzo Menifield that we once thought we'd see coming into the UFC. Just a physical freak, hits like a truck. The leg kicks are there. Submitted a black belt his last fight. Hey, and then you got a guy in Carlos Ulberg, who has a very kind of pretty style. Man, but he's very reliant on the counter, Garrett. So it's like, for this to be an exciting fight, it comes down to his opponent's approach. Like, if you're just going to run away from Carlos Ulberg the whole time, he kind of, not that he has trouble leading, because he will pick you apart. He will fling that jab out there. He's got his calf kicks, but for him to really open up on his combinations, he kind of needs you to go after him. So I guess the big question is, do you think Alonzo Menifield is going to approach this in an aggressive manner, which will force Ulberg to, have to fight? Or do you think Ulberg, against a gun-shy opponent, just kind of circle and just pick him apart a little bit?
Yeah, I think for Alonzo Menifield to win it, just pretty just get him to the ground and then work what you need to work there. I think that would probably be a smart choice against Carlos Ulberg, who's just always looking to strike and doesn't have as much experience grappling. But then again, like, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't watched a lot of Alonzo Menifield or Carlos Ulberg, so I can't give a prediction on this one. If I was just going off like recency bias, I'm gonna go Carlos Ulberg because he's the newer, the newer name in the fighter, and he comes from a pretty good camp, I'm assuming, in City Kickboxing. So they've already seen a lot, and they've already created a couple champions. So I'm sure they're gonna be having standout game planning for this fight. But yeah, to be honest with you, man, I haven't watched either of these guys fight ever, I don't think. So I'm going Ulberg on this one.
What's interesting, the one loss Ulberg had in the UFC against Kennedy and Nzechukwu, where like he 10-8s him in round one, and it was one of those cases of he blew his load. I mean, when you look at the strike difference, when you're a 205er, Garrett, and you throw 227 strikes in under 2 rounds, and you land 146 of them, and like you literally beat a guy up to the point where you gas out from beating him up, and then Kennedy comes back and knocks out a fatigued Ulberg as a result. And people try to act like, oh, Ulberg has a cardio issue. Dude, like I said, when you're a 205-pound man that attempted 227 strikes, you landed 146 of them in fucking 5 to 7 minutes. I mean, what do you think's going to happen? Of course you're going to slow down. And that's the only time he's lost. And I felt like I've seen a lot of maturity, since then, there's been the quick finishes, like we mentioned, the Tefan Chukwi fight, the Nikolai Negumariano fight, which was one of the nicest 1-3s I've ever seen in all my years watching the sport, where he hits him with that jab, he takes a slight little step back, and then he cracks him with the 3, puts him down. But then we've seen the kind of slower fights like the Fabio Charant fight. But again, that's due to Fabio Charant wasn't going after Ulberg. Fabio Charant wanted to kind of run away. And when you run away from a counter fighter, that's when you can have some of those kind of low output fights. And that's what happened there. So I think it comes down to Menifield's approach, because Ulberg can fight both ways, safe, or he can counter you very effectively. So it just comes down to how Alonzo wants to approach it. Does Alonzo want to say, fuck it, close the distance, try to catch him with something big, or is he kind of sit back and go tit for tat with a seasoned kickboxer? That's kind of how I see it. So
yeah,
I think
it would be an exciting fight regardless.
Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Carlos Diego Ferreira, who's 18-5, taking on Mateusz Rebecki, who's 19-1. And currently they got it Mateusz Rebecki -400. The comeback on Carlos Diego Ferreira is +300. So real quick, I'm going to remove you just for 1 sec so the fans can see what I have right here. Yeah, and I'm going to bring you right back. So let's see. Move my camera a little bit. Okay, y'all see that old school Carlos Diego Ferreira shirt from back when he knocked out, I believe, Ramsey Nijem. I just love that shirt because it had the Brazilian flag, the American flag, and the Mexican flag, and Carlos was on the come up. I think this was back in 2015. Did you see the shirt I just showed?
Yeah, I did. I did see it.
Yeah. So like I love that guy. And like also, this is a guy in Carlos Diego Ferreira. I don't know if you know this, but didn't he beat like Gary Tonin in a straight up jiu-jitsu match? So that's like the kind of caliber we're dealing with here. I think at this point, 3rd or 4th degree black belt. So as legit as it gets. And you saw his knockout in his last fight against Michael Johnson. The guy can crack too. Back in the day, he derailed Taisumov, choked out Pettis. It's just that it's tough when your favorite fighters get to, that point where my boy's almost 40 years old. And I love this kid, Rebecki. I mean, he's, for a 55er, he's like 5'6", 5'7", but he's an absolute tank, Garrett. The guy's got one hitter quitter. The guy can pick you up over his head, Matt Hughes style, slam you on the canvas. He can submit. He can do it all. People have criticized his cardio, but I think it's more of a sense of a work rate thing where, like I said, when you go balls to the wall, like you're gonna fatigue. That's just science. That's just nature. But I think that as much as I love Carlos Diego Ferreira, like y'all saw, I bought his shirt back in the day. I will always be a fan. This is going to be an honorable passing of the torch. Like, we're not passing the torch to some kid that doesn't deserve it, to some kid that, shouldn't be in there with him. Like, Mateusz Rebecki seems like a legitimate prospect, and it's going to be honorable for him to take that top 15 spot over someone that I hold in such regard, like Carlos Diego Ferreira. Yeah. So I'm going Rebecki here.
Yeah, same. I'm going to go Rebecki on this one too. He's a good fighter. And I like what I've seen lately, and he's definitely got like a lot of potential. So, shit, he's 3-0 in the UFC, which is what only like barely anybody even gets to 3-0 in the UFC. So just to be able to get to that point, man, he's a talented fighter, and so I'm leaning on Rebecki for sure.
And the one fight that Rebecki got criticism for was his UFC debut, because like I said,
they're gonna criticize us no matter what we do. So.
No, 100%. But like, it's funny to me because firsthand, because you're a balls to the wall guy too, right? Like, anytime you've had issues has been you've beat the fuck out of a guy, and maybe like I don't want to be disrespectful or say talk out of turn, but like, okay, when you fought that Canadian, beat his ass in round 1, did you fatigue from whooping on him, or did he just get a good spot on you in the second round?
I mean, he's a good fighter, so I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but. At the end of the day, we all have to learn on the job here in this sport. So, it's just a learning experience. And, that was also like 3 years ago. So, how we grow in the sport.
No, of course. No. And I just meant it from the aspect of what happened. Was it a case where, and because that's translating to what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
Was it a case?
It's the case that he got me down and put me in a submission. It's everything happens in the sport.
Right. So it wasn't you beat his ass to where you fatigued and then he took over. It was just He just caught you.
I mean, it could be a combination of both, you know?
Yeah, because it wasn't like, oh man, like it didn't look like Garrett belonged or whatever. It was like, no, Garrett beat this dude's ass, but the guy, like that Vogel dude is known for like, it's not just y'all's fight. He's known for just taking ass whoopings and like having ridiculous durability and coming back in fights. Anyways, the reason I brought that up was because Rebecki got a lot of heat for his UFC debut where he literally 30-26 is the guy, beats the living shit out of him. But in round 3, the other guy had one moment. So all of a sudden, you know, people are going to discredit him and act like, oh, he's not all that. It's like, dude, like when you 30-26 a guy and he has one moment of success and now we're going to hold that against you, I feel like people are grasping at straws at times.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But I'm going Rebecki on this fight. I like him, and I like what I see, and I'm a big fan of him. So, you know, he's a good dude. He's 19-1. He's a very talented fighter. So I'm going him. I'm really excited for this next fight with the Sean Woodson and the Alex Caceres fight. Very excited for that one.
And real quick, I didn't mean any disrespect by bringing that up. I was bringing that up because, like, I know it was a long time ago, but like it was the same kind of example where, like, you know.
Yeah, you're good. All good, bro.
Okay, cool.
All good.
Now, next up in the featherweight division, Alex Caceres. He's 21-14, taking on Sean Woodson, who's 11-1-1. Currently, they got it. Sean Woodson -220. The comeback on Alex Caceres is +185. So I assume you're very familiar with Woodson, right? St. Louis guy, been around the scene a long time, paying his dues. But speaking of paying his dues, you know what Alex Bruce Leroy has done. I mean, from the street fighting days to the Ultimate Fighter to be in the UFC this long, and he's a top 15 guy now. You love to see stuff like that. How do you see these two matching up?
I think they have you know, they're both strikers, but I'm going Sean Woodson on this fight. Sean Woodson was able to go out there and beat you know, a really game Charles Jourdain. So I'm definitely leaning Sean Woodson, just also due to just the way he uses his length in his fights. You know, I think he's just he's a very calculated striker, and you can see that especially with which fight was that where he kind of stalled on the guy a little bit. The Kyle Bochniak fight, you know. So like this guy's definitely got an eye of a great striker, and you know, of course, Caceres can always pull it out and always get the win, but I'm definitely going for I'm definitely leaning Sean Woodson. You know, got to represent the St. Louis, the STL, and yeah, man, can't hate on the hometown boy. He's my dog, so going Woodson.
Yeah, and Cody just entered and just left, but I assume he's about to come back in here. But one thing I've always said about Woodson, he's a matchup problem. Look at the physical attributes for a guy in the featherweight division. So, what's up, Cody Durden?
What up, G?
Hey, Cody.
Hey,
this is
Cody?
UFC bantamweight Garrett Armfield. Garrett, this is
what's up,
UFC
Garrett?
flyweight Cody
What's up,
Durden.
man? How you doing, bro?
Good. Yeah, I read your tweets, bro. It's pretty funny.
Oh, thanks, bro. I appreciate the support, man. I just try to be an idiot.
Don't we all?
Yeah, right. I gotta create controversy somewhere. So I was thinking either come out with a sex tape or just come out with stupid shit to stay on Twitter. So I picked the stupid shit to stay on Twitter.
There you go. Or come out with the OnlyFans.
I tried that, bro, and I couldn't get any followers on it.
Hey, it's good because actually, interestingly enough, the numbers show that the fighters that create OnlyFans lose their next fight. Like statistically, I don't know the science behind it, so yeah. I'm glad that you did not pursue that avenue.
And won my next fight.
You said what now?
I said whenever I created my OnlyFans, I won my next fight.
Okay, well, shit, you're the exception to the rule, my man. Maybe that only applies to the women. So I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
But
definitely
so real quick, we're gonna finish this fight here between Sean Woodson and Alex Caceres, and then we're gonna talk about the Hadley fight. So the thing about Woodson for a featherweight, listen to this: 6'2" with a 78-inch reach. Like this guy is just automatically gonna be a matchup problem for a lot of the people he faces. But what I love about the dynamic here is that he's taking a guy in Bruce Leroy who's been there, done that. He's seen everything there is to see in this sport. But man, Woodson has really, really impressed me from the jump. Like, for example, let's talk about what would arguably consider to be, you know, kind of a question mark performance. The one where it, you know, the Luis Saldana fight, right? Where he arguably got knocked out in like round 1 twice, but, you know, there was an illegal knee. The ref deducts a point. But bottom line, when you get knocked out in round 1 and you're able to turn that fight into a draw, hey dog, like those are the qualities that like you look for, not just as a fan, but like as a betting man. Like this guy is willing to fight to the bitter end. And I respect that quality so much. You mix that in with his physical attributes, and now that he's starting to get seasoned, he's starting to have that experience behind him. He's been through the ups and downs in the sport, and it's all culminating to this spot where now he can crack the top 15 of the rankings. And I think he's got the perfect opponent to do that here in Bruce Leroy. Bruce Leroy is used to being the longer, taller fighter. Now, granted, against Julian Erosa, you can say that it wasn't the case there, but we know Julian Erosa, very talented guy, but similar to someone in your weight class, Cody, Matt Schnell, Julian Erosa doesn't quite have the best chin, right? So there's a way to beat that guy. But besides that, I do feel like Alex Caceres is going to struggle with the length, the range. That jab is going to be coming from downtown. And I see a decision win here for Sean Woodson. You got any take on that fight, Cody?
Yeah, for sure. I've actually seen Sean Woodson fight a few times, and man, when you first see this guy, it's like, how is he an MMA fighter? You know, he's real skinny, tall, but once he gets into action, the dude's a gamer. You know, he's 5-1 in the UFC. Goes into this fight a negative 190 favorite, and the same can be said for Alex. Alex is a gamer too, but man, I'm gonna have to go with Sean Woodson on this one. I think his boxing's crisp, and he showed that he can come back from adversity. And by the looks of it, man, I mean, looks like he's narrowed out 2 split decisions, but one of them against Youssef Zalal, which he's a gamer too. So we've seen Alex, have an up and down career, but then again he has a lot of fights. But I'm just gonna throw something out there. I'm gonna take Sean Woodson via decision.
Now let's go to the fight between your sons, and all respect to them. They're not, I'm not calling them my sons. I'm calling them your sons. So don't kick my ass, Charles Johnson and Jake Hadley. But next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Jake Hadley, who's 10-2, taking on Charles Johnson, who's 14-6. Currently, they got it. Jake Hadley -145. The comeback on Charles Johnson is +120. Cody Durden, you unanimously 30-27, both men. Both men had one moment against you in the fight. Charles with the reverse triangle and Jake with the armbar. Besides that, you put it on them, and even those moments weren't enough for either judge to give them the fight. 30-27 times 3, both fights. You got the insight here. Break it down. What do you see?
Man, Daniel, you sound so good at this, like breaking it down like perfectly. So, yeah, I mean, it's a good fight. I like it. I think the fans are going to like it as well. So you got Charles Johnson, obviously his attributes is his athleticism, his cardio, and I think one that doesn't show up as much, but I felt was his strength. The dude's strong, and that's I guess one of the reasons why he's never been submitted or never been finished in his whole career. And then you have Jake Hadley, he's and okay, I wouldn't say the best striker. I mean, he's a good striker, but not the best striker. But his great attribute is when he takes the back, man. If you let him take your back, he can find the finish, and he's good with his jiu-jitsu, getting his legs in. And even on the bottom, he tends to try to use his jiu-jitsu with his butterfly hooks and really get underneath his opponents and offset that weight to go into his sweep to try to take the back that way. So going into this fight, I'm going to have to go with even though I want Hadley to win, I'm going to have to go with Charles Johnson via unanimous decision. I think that Hadley cuts a lot of weight. He's a huge flyweight. And going into the third round, it's going to be a factor. And we've seen Charles with his experience. He's fighting every other month. And I don't think Jake Hadley has the ability to, get takedowns like he needs. Although if Hadley does take him down, Charles Johnson's going to give his back up. And I think Hadley will keep him down for a little bit, but he won't be able to keep him down long. And it's going to be a grinder of a fight, a lot of striking. I think this fight's going to be mostly on the feet. And I think Charles Johnson's going to come out with the unanimous decision.
Now, real quick, I need your opinion on this. I'm gonna hit up the share screen real quick. 1 second. I want you to see this picture. So, can you see this? Okay. So
Yeah.
this is what Jake Hadley looks like right now, and obviously he's cutting a lot of weight. And listen, I'm not a doctor. I don't want to make any accusations, but do you see these little 3 bumps he's got on his stomach right here? Like, did he get stung by a bee, or after y'all's fight, did he get a new Flintstone vitamin regimen plan, Cody Durden? All allegedly. No, we're not going to plant our flags. This is all.
I'm not really sure about that, but I mean, he definitely looks ripped, I must say. I don't look like that. But, he also looks drained. So that, like I said, it looks like he's, he posted this yesterday. That's 2 days before weigh-ins. He looks pretty drained down already. And, that can be detrimental. All that weight cutting when you're too big for the weight class. And, I talked to Hadley about that. And, he walks around like 160 pounds. And,
why doesn't he just fight at bantamweight then?
I have no idea. And, a guy like me, I walk around like 147. That's a big difference. When I struggle to make weight, and I know how hard the last 3 pounds is, and this guy has to be on top of his diet at all times. I'm not on top of my diet at all times. I try to eat clean, but if I want to get a burger or some wings, I get that.
Corey. Yeah. But that's also good for your. That's also good for your your mental stress levels too, your cortisol levels, to have that that ability to take breaks and eat food without stressing out about it.
Yeah,
I really feel like that pays dividends and everything. Yeah, man, he's a huge flyweight if he's walking around at 160. I fight at bantamweight. I walk around at 155, and I have no plans to ever cut into a flyweight. Just because I don't think I think it would just be too much hell for me to make flyweight. And my belief is I don't care how big you are. I don't care if you're a 45er or a 35er or a 25er. Within like a 15-pound range, I want to be the best in the world and be able to beat any of those dudes within that race class. You might be able to beat me in strength and power and size, but then I'll just outskill you. So that's my mindset between like the massive weight cuts like that, going from 160 to 125. You want to be able to like be there for your family after fighting's done too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And then you think about it like this, dude. We got to make 126 on the dot, and then we get the same amount of time to rehydrate up. Like, it's. I mean, you can only get up to a certain amount, like 140, 145 max. Anything above that is
crazy. 160 to 125. That's insane.
Yeah. So
I thought you were a big flyweight because you're like 5 foot. You're not a small guy at flyweight whatsoever. You're 5'7". I mean,
yeah.
I look at you in the cage and I'm like, oh, that dude, like he's bigger than most of his competition.
I know, until I run into fucking Tiger. That motherfucker, I was like, God damn, this motherfucker.
There's always somebody bigger, bro. There's always somebody bigger.
Hey, I'm 5'7", 67-inch reach. Not the longest reach, but I mean, I usually feel strong, good. And until I ran into Tiger, I was like, God damn, fucking leverage, baby.
Were you guys the same height though?
On paper, but not in reality.
No. Yeah, he was probably 2 inches, 2.5. I give him 2 to 2.5 inches taller than me, but I mean, just the length,
Yeah. It can be like deceiving is when they have like the super long arms,
Yeah, exactly. But Charles Johnson, he's not small flyweight neither.
Like 5'9".
Yeah, I mean, the top of the division, the top 20 in the world. I mean, we're all relatively big fucking flyweights, I would say, except Matthias Nicola. He's a small guy. He's a little French fry.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Perez is pretty big too.
Yeah, I feel like I could like Donkey Kong his little ass.
You fuck yeah. Let's go.
So you were mentioning how Hadley, you know, the guys that have beaten Johnson, right, in the UFC, they've, first of all, Mokaev set the takedown record in flyweight history against Johnson with 12 takedowns. Cody Durden set the record for second most takedowns in flyweight history with 11. So what I'm trying to say here is the guys that are coming out here and beating Charles Johnson, like you have to attempt a certain amount of takedowns on him. Like that Rafael Esteban guy, okay, he only landed 3 takedowns, but you know how many he attempted? Just take a quick little guess. How many takedowns do you think Esteban attempted?
I'm not sure.
Just guess.
Are you talking about Charles' last opponent?
The one before that, the Brazilian guy that beat him.
Oh, I don't know. Probably 3, and I don't know.
Okay, what's your guess, Garrett?
Oh, I don't know. Probably attempted like 10, 15.
Close. This guy attempted 22 takedowns.
Well, shit, at that point, you got to be making him pay on the in-between exchanges. If somebody shoots 20 takedowns on me, I'm going to try to land 20 knees on him, you know?
Yeah.
So how many did he complete?
3. Only 3 of them. But the thing is, he was able to like get that body triangle in and kind of kill off the clock for the rest of that round.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But the point is that he was attempting takedown after takedown after takedown, whereas you look at Hadley, and all respect to him, of course, but he's not out here, you know, relentlessly wrestling. He's more of like a British jiu-jitsu guy. And I respect his jiu-jitsu. I mean, I saw that armbar he had on you, bro. Like, we know and then that Carlos Candelario fight. The guy's legit, of course, but just stylistically speaking, the guys that give Charles the most fits are the guys that are consistently on him with that grind. And Jake doesn't strike me as that kind of guy. So now I'm curious if they kind of bang it out, what do you see happening there? Because, okay, I'd give the volume edge to Charles, maybe the power edge to Jake, maybe. You guys can correct me if you think I'm wrong. But one thing about it is that last fight that Charles had with that like 17-1 Kazakh guy, like that's the first time I've ever seen Charles like get dropped and like almost knocked out. So now we got to talk about, okay, not just the relentless wrestling attempt, but how do you think they match up if they are to just bang it out for 3?
Oh, man. Charles Johnson, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they both hit like a bitch, but I think I would have to say Charles Johnson just because of his cardio and his quickness and
he does have that cardio. That cardio can be an X factor for him.
Yeah, the cardio is going to be a big factor, and you know also his length, and he switches stances back and forth. So the only way to really like.
Yeah, his last fight, he came out a little shaky in the beginning, but once he got to the second and third, he started to let it go. It just looked like he was probably just a little nervous in the first round, but once he got comfortable there, that's when he started to really beat the Azak guy.
Yeah. Man, I hope Hadley chokes him unconscious. This motherfucker, like, I fought Charles, you know, it was cool. We squashed the beef, but man, have you seen him on Twitter talking about all you flyweights suck and I'm going for the title? Like, dude, you're fucking 3-4 in the UFC, and you're talking about all the flyweights suck. Like, come on now, and talk about I would beat anybody, but all you guys want to hug. No, motherfucker, this is MMA. Why didn't you go to Glory Kickboxing if you wanted to kickbox?
Yeah. I mean, that's just not my like. I understand what he's probably trying to do, like just the marketing and trying to get retweets and all that shit, but that's not my style. I don't really talk shit on my opponents at all. I'm usually pretty chill with all of them.
Well, the funny thing about that, Cody, is that you outstruck Charles Johnson officially on the numbers, not just the takedowns, but the strikes, of course. So that was kind of funny to me. And also he's been saying some interesting stuff like, I'm the best 5-round fighter in the flyweight division, which is interesting to me because you 30-27 them. So let's for argument's sake say that was a 5-round fight. He wins the next 2 rounds. You still won 48-47. So to say you're the best 5-round fighter at flyweight in the UFC, I'm not saying you can't be one day, but to say that right now is a little arrogant.
Yeah, it's for sure. You know,
Dan, I gotta hop off, Dan.
Oh, you're good, bro.
I just had to train him, my man. Hey, thank you guys so much.
Garrett.
I appreciate you guys for having me on. It was great as always. Hell yeah. Nice talking to you, Cody. Nice meeting you. Been a big fan for a while.
One real thing before you leave.
Yeah.
We want to do a giveaway for the fans. So the fans have to guess what 2 things Garrett Armfield and I have in common. And you cannot say they're short white boys. You have to guess 2 other things that we have in common. And if you guess that correctly, Garrett's gonna send you.
I'll sign you a hat and I'll send it to you. Shipping on me.
I appreciate that, my man. Hey, it was nice to meet you, Garrett.
Yeah, of course, bro.
Oh, I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna say. I was about to give away the answer. Not gonna do that. But dude, honored to meet you, man. Appreciate you being on the show and enjoy your time in St. Louis at the fights.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Have a good night, guys.
Sir. Peace out, bro.
Hey, let me tell you something about Garrett. He better hope that shit ain't whoever wins isn't international, because that shit gets expensive. The shipping international.
Yeah, no shit.
I went to go ship something out. It was like $150. I was like, God damn.
Yeah,
But
I was actually about to, before he left kind of abruptly, but I was going to ask if you had any advice for him, because you know, he's only 27 years old. He's only 2-1 in the UFC. You've been there before. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what it means to win 5 times in the UFC. You know what it means to hit the top 15 rankings. Like, these are things that Garrett wants to accomplish. So I was going to ask if you had any advice for him. Then after that, I was going to ask if he had anything to ask you, but he had to go. So unfortunately not. If you want to give a young up and comer advice here, unsolicited, go ahead. If not, we can move on to the next fight.
sacrifice everything. Everything. If you want to make it to the top, you got to sacrifice everything and then sacrifice more. And then, you know, it might happen for you, because you might sacrifice everything and it might not happen for you, but at least you tried, you know? And that's what I try to do.
100%. And, you know, we respect that. And it's funny because even before you came on the show, like, I was actually thinking that I was picking Charles Johnson, and I wanted to hear your opinion first. The biggest arm in Georgia. No, but looking good.
Want to hear my opinion first on what?
On that fight. And you gave me your opinion on that fight. Like, you think that Charles probably outworks him. But, bro, let's not act like Charles was the only guy kind of disrespecting you. Like, I remember the shit that Hadley was saying, and Hadley even came up to you afterwards and apologized, and like, he got humbled big time. Like, because he said some shit that, like, if you say that kind of shit in person, like, okay, if Charles Johnson calls you Cody Durden in person, okay, ha, you know, we'll go back and forth. But if you say some of the shit that Hadley said to you in person, like, we're fucking fighting right here, right now, right?
Yeah, he called me a dick sucker. Like,
yeah, and like all his friends are laughing and like, yeah,
on YouTube. Yeah, I took that shit personally. When I was down to my last pound, like, literally, I took that fight on 3-week notice, and then I was like 150 pounds at the time, and like, I was drinking beer and just having fun. I didn't have a fight lined up. Well, I had a fight lined up in September, but like, I wasn't officially in fight camp. So of course you want to, you know, indulge in some things that are about to be taken away from you at the moment. So I took that fight on, I think it was like 2.5, 3 weeks notice, and I got down to the last 3 pounds. Okay, so we weigh in Friday, and you got the scales open at 9 to 11. So I get in the sauna at 6 a.m. I check my weight 5:30 in the morning. I get in this. I had 3.4 pounds to go. Okay, no problem. So I get in the sauna at 6 a.m. and I was in the sauna from 6 a.m. to I didn't weigh in until 10:20. And I just remember like the weight would not come off. I was not sweating. I was dying. And I was like, I just didn't understand. And well, the mistake I made was throughout the whole week, I was drinking coconut water, which has sodium in it. And I don't know why I was doing that. I guess because I didn't know it had sodium in it, you know, and man, I about died. And then my coach comes over. He's like, look, we're going to make it. And so he grabbed the video of Jake Hadley and showed it to me as I was in the sauna. And I just remember like, I'm going to fuck this guy up, showing me the video of him saying I'm a dick sucker. I'm a nut hugger. And, I'm just coming in there to wrestle. And it was highly disrespectful to me, not only me, my family. And so I took that personally. And you can see the video after the fight. We're walking around the cage and he comes up and shakes my hand. I was like, look, don't you ever call me that again, bro. Like, that's fucked up. Keep it professional. And he apologized and we just cared about our business. But yeah, man, fight game, there's no limits though. But some people take it personal. Some people take things personal and things like that I take personal. But I forgave him. Whatnot, he's a professional athlete. He's a great athlete, and we care about our business.
Bro, real talk though, on that picture. And sorry, I'm not trying to get you to say some fucking gotcha or any fucking controversial clickbait statement, but like, does that not look, I mean, is that not kind of sketchy, that picture? Like, not only does he look drawn out beyond belief, but the bumps on his stomach, like, what the fuck is going on there, dude?
I don't know, man. It looks like he's drained out and he's unhealthy, right? I mean, he's getting to the point where it's unhealthy. And once you lose and you start looking like that, your body starts eating the muscle. And, it has no fat to eat anymore. And then it starts eating muscle. And then that's 2 days out. He should be having 10, 11 pounds to go left. And if you're already looking like that, don't be surprised, if he maybe comes in overweight. What is he, 26, 27?
Yeah, he's just a kid.
Yeah, so he could be, possibly putting on some muscle and becoming, bigger than he already is. And that picture just shows me that he's already depleted.
100%.
I'm rocking with Hadley, man. I hope he wins.
So you're changing your official pick?
No. I'm rocking with Hadley, but I'm choosing Charles Johnson, if that makes sense.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Have you ever done that before?
all the time, because a pick and a bet are two different things. And obviously you can't bet, but I'm just saying, like, you can root for someone but think the other guy is going to win. Like, clearly.
Yeah. That was kind of like you, me versus Micaiah. That's how you were thinking. No, I'm just playing.
Hey, I picked Cody Durden.
There you go.
You know what I'm fucking saying, bro?
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, you heard the matchup they got announced. Speaking of the devil, Cape versus Mokaev. The winner's about to fight for the belt. What are you thinking?
Man, that's a good fight. Good fight. I don't know if Cape can stop the onslaught of takedown attempts. Because Makaev's going to drop down, and try to grab that leg and try to suck it in and finish his takedowns. But I just don't know if Cape's going to be able to stop it. We'll see, though. Maybe in the third round like Perez, but he's got a great skill set in his wrestling, and it's been working for him. And
for sure,
all the people he's fought, Makaev's fought, I just don't know if Cape is going to be the one to take the O.
Man, I feel like when Cape is on his game, he can be one of the best, if not the champ. It's just there's been a lot of inconsistency, and also he came from like a league where like they wore tennis shoes, they fought in a ring, the ref had an earpiece on. So to make that transition to the UFC, and you're fighting fucking Pantoja in your debut, and he won a round against him too. Like, I feel like a guy like that, when he starts to get comfortable and starts to feel like this is his home, I mean, I really do see, at least a title challenger, if not a champ. But Mokaev's got just such a hard style to deal with. And apparently the Perez fight, he was super sick. No, not to make excuses. No one's 100%, but that was not the best look from Mokaev. That's the reason, Cody, why Usyk got the title shot and not Mokaev. That's the reason why Mokaev has to fight Cape in this number one contender fight.
Yeah,
straight up.
That's just that's 100% correct. He didn't look the best in that fight, but I feel man, it just eats me alive, man. That like, I know I belong, in the top 15, and I know I can compete with these guys, but I'm not getting the opportunity to really. I fight Tagir, and he's he's the upper echelon of the flyweight division.
He'll be fighting for a belt in the next year.
I'm managers with Ali, and he told me, he's like, man, so many guys in the top 15 have turned down Tagir. It's ridiculous. And he was like, do you want this fight? And I was like, fuck it, let's do it, And so now, at this point, I'm left without a fight, and I'm waiting to fight. I'm staying prepared I put my name in the hat for a fight in June 1st with what was his name, Andre Lima, but he already had another opponent.
What was his opponent's name, Cody?
Who?
Lima's.
Oh, dude, I can't pronounce that. Try to pronounce it. I have no idea.
I don't even want to start, bro.
You texted me and said, "Who's his opponent?" Like, dude, I can't pronounce that. And then you saw it, and you're like, "Okay, I understand."
Yeah, shit's crazy. Okay, so I obviously just wanted you here for this fight. You got the most insight out of anyone on it, but there any other fights you want to talk about on this card? Our boy Jared Gooden's fighting on it. There's the Chase Hooper fight.
Yeah, let's talk about Jared. Where's he been, man? Where's he training out of?
All right, let's get to that fight. So next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Kevin Jousset. He's minus 230 taking on Jared Nitrain Gooden, who's plus 195. Currently, they got it. Oh, I just said the odds. Jared Gooden's 23-9. Kevin Jousset is 10-2. So just to set the table, Kevin Jousset, he's a French judo guy that moved to Australia or New Zealand, and now he's training with like Izzy and them. He's like 6'2", kind of a long kind of play it safe striker that's transitioned from being like a judo guy. And yeah, but he's like kind of not the most experienced, whereas Jared's got what, over 30 fights, and this guy's got 12 fights. So there's a big experience gap here, but that Jared loves to fight with his hands down. Jared loves to take one to give one. Jared's got insane durability, and over 30 fights, he's only been stopped twice, both at middleweight against the PFL heavyweight champ and against some fucking 6'5" Johnny Walker type dude. So to stop, like, people are gonna crack Jared, but to stop Jared, like only like specific individuals have done that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And as far as your question, where's Jared been training? It's kind of interesting because you train at like a big camp where like you're in there with the champ of your division. You're in there with multiple top 10 guys in all kinds of divisions. And that's great for some guys. Like for you love the big camp. For other guys, they like kind of the camp to be centered around them. And that's kind of like what Gooden's situation is. So and Jared's my friend, so I need to like be very careful about what I say, but I also want to be as honest and transparent as possible. I did have questions about Jared Gooden's training situation, but like when you go out there in your last fight and you get that $50K bonus and the biggest paycheck of your 30 plus fight career, like who am I to criticize what you've been doing? You know what I'm saying? To get a performance bonus in the UFC on a card like that, like, hey bro, like I guess I can't criticize what you've been doing, because he like his like coach is like his like mentor. He's got this kind of like old school boxing coach that like is like a father figure to him. And
yeah, I know who you're talking about. I forget his name, but I know who you're talking
Kelly
about.
Davis.
Yeah, Kelly Davis. That's right.
And don't get me wrong, Kelly Davis has trained guys like Phil Rowe and some good guys. But it's just an interesting dynamic. Like he's not surrounded by tons of like you're, like I said, you train with the fucking champ of your weight class, right? Like Jared's not doing that, but some guys don't need that, right? It's different for every fighter. So it's just about how you kind of assess that, because Jousset is training with Israel Adesanya, Volkanovski. So, but that doesn't mean, Jared's last opponent, Wellington Turman, was training with fucking Alex Pereira and Glover Teixeira. So like those guys can't fight for you, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, what do you kind of think here? Because like Jousset is gonna, I don't think he's going to use his judo as much. I think he's going to kind of try to keep it on the outside. Jared's hittable and kind of be long and try to pick him apart. But Jousset is kind of 6'2". He's got that tall man defense, leaves that chin up in the air, and he is susceptible to being nuked. And when you look at Jared's numbers, so when we're talking about knockouts, Jared's knocked 11 guys out. He's only been knocked out twice. Jared submitted 8 guys. He's been submitted 0 times. But here's where it gets murky. When it goes to decision, he's won 5 times, lost 7 times. So basically, Jared, I would describe him as an opportunistic finisher. So whereas Jousset, more of like a clean point striker, kind of wants to be pretty and like win a decision. So how do you kind of see that matching up?
I mean, it's hard to say, because I don't know his opponent. I don't even never even heard of him. So it's like, but I've seen, Jared, and I've seen, his ups and downs, and I've seen, his flaws. And honestly, I haven't seen Jared improve as in as you jab, keeping your other hand up and your chin down, it's kind of like he's susceptible to getting nuked as well, and the whole camp situation, man, I like to train with guys that are just as good as me or better than me. I'm going in the room every day. If let's say I'm at Team Lima, I call a training partner, yo, you going to be there today? All right. I want you and Joel to alternate rounds with me. One sit out, one come in, I kind of structure it that way where I want these guys to beat me. I want these guys to push me to my limits. And I don't know, who's sparring with him, who's, is he only doing boxing sparring? Is he putting the jiu-jitsu time in?
Listen, I was asking the exact same questions last fight, and then he submits like a black belt that had never been submitted. But granted,
nice.
he knocked him out before he submitted him, but he still submitted like a black belt. And the dude tapped. He didn't go to sleep either. So it's again, I want to criticize because I love Jared. Jared's like a brother. He's been in my house before. I've known him way before he was in the UFC. You want to see your friends do well, but you also want to be honest about things you see that might detriment them. Jared says stuff like, I love getting hit. And his coaches don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. But when you have that insane chin that he does, he can get away with it. But for how long? You've had over 30 pro fights, bro. Sometimes you got to pay the piper. So it's just tough because I want to see this man do well. Jared's such a cool guy.
Yeah, he takes risks too. He takes a lot of risk.
Exactly. He's an opportunistic finisher. That's what he is. The interesting thing about it is if you look at the scorecards of every single UFC fight he's had, he's never won a round. In 6 UFC fights, he's never won a round. But
what weight is this? 185 or 170?
70. And the 2 KO losses he had was at 85.
Okay. Yeah. And is he going to make weight? Because he struggled in the past. Make weight.
I know that's been an issue in the past, but I actually have seen a change in maturity in Jared lately. He told me because he used to want to be the Cowboy Cerrone where I'll take a 2-week short notice fight, I'll fight this guy, I'll fight that guy. That's what he wanted to do. But I actually spoke with him, and he was like, dude, I'm 30 now, and I'm not taking no more short notice fights. He wants to do things the right way. Because people give him a lot of shit for that Carlston Harris fight. That was his first fight back on his second stint, right?
Yeah.
He misses weight by 7 pounds and looks really bad, but people forget to mention he took that fight on Wednesday of fight week. And firsthand, because when you made your UFC debut 2 weeks prior, you smashed the LFA champ, John Sweeney. And I know for a fact, when you do that, guess what? You're going to be drinking beer. You're going to be eating wings. You're you just fought. You're going to be fucking indulging. So Jared had just smashed DeMarquez Johnson. Did you see that knockout he had where he stomped the dude? Like he stopped, he like knocked the guy and then stomped him. Like he was coming off that. And then like a couple days later, they gave him the call, and it's like, bro, like, yes, I want to be back in the UFC, but like Wednesday of fight week, so it was just going out there. I'm going to try my best and see what happens. But then the next fight, makes weight against Turman and gets a performance bonus. So that's a step in the right direction for me. And
when was that fight? When was that last fight?
In December.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So, but that's also another thing. The biggest, and I mean this, the biggest paycheck he's ever had in his entire UFC career. When you've had over 30 plus fights and you make a year's salary in one fight, and like you feel like, oh, now I can buy my mom a home, now I can do all these things. Like, I'm hoping that, because some guys, they get that first 50K bonus, then they go off the fucking rails. I'm hoping, and if that would have happened to Jared when he was like 23 or 25, that's what would have happened. But now at 30 years old, a little bit more mature, he's showing, like I said, he just bought his mom a house, and like he's, it looks like he's taking things like real, like he's locking in, he's professional. I think he's going to make way. I think he's going to make way. Now clip this if he misses and make me look like an idiot. I get it. But like, I think he's going to make way and he's going to show up. It's just about like what distance this fight is played out at. If Jousset's able to kind of run on the outside, jab, calf kick, make it pretty type stuff, that's where Jousset has the edge. But if Jared closes that distance and hits him with that night train, I mean, Jousset might hit the deck.
Let's hope he does. Let's hope Jared can pull it out.
Yeah, and for the fans, like, because people are like, oh, how big are you going to go on Durden? Or how big are you going to go on Gooden? Like, dude, like, I have like a weird thing about betting on my friends. Like, not because I don't believe in my friends. I 100% do, and I'm rooting for them. But like, there's something about being a gambler where you don't bet where you have a bias. That's like a big rule. So if I were to bet, it'd be like a small shot or whatever. But like, it's just, I don't know if I'm superstitious and I feel like if I bet on y'all, I'm going to curse y'all, or if I'm just kind of like, I know you on a personal level. I've been to your fucking house, Cody Durden. I met your wife and kids. Like, clearly I'm biased. Like, clearly I mean,
there's a million things that you can bet on, like sitting a bet out, is not going to hurt you, it makes sense. I mean, I would do the same thing, Daniel. If I had somebody that I was friends with, and I've hung out with or whatnot, been knowing them forever, I'm not gonna bet against them, or I'm not gonna bet with them. Hey, I'm just gonna sit it out, and I think what you're doing is fair. It's fair play.
For sure. So you were obviously both. I mean, like I said, same way I'll pick you against Davis and Figueiredo, I'll pick. Jared against Leon Edwards. Like, it's just, I would never root against my boys, and that's just the bottom line. So we both got good in here. Now, Cody, you have to run. You want to do a couple more fights? Like, no big deal, no pressure. Like, what you got going on?
Yeah, I gotta run, bro. I got to practice at 5:30. I gotta get ready and shit.
Nice, man. And
it was fun, man. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, you know it. Hey, any updates? Any potential things in the works?
Yet, man. I talked to Ali on Tuesday evening, and we're trying to get a fight. It might be Bruno Silva. I don't know yet. I'm just waiting to hear back, and it don't matter, man. I'm just ready to fight. I'm pissed that I got pulled off the UFC 303, the biggest card of the freaking year, and it was my fault though. Unfortunately I couldn't make it to that fight, but shit, things happen, and everything I've done is in good faith, and I proved that, and we'll have one soon, I hope. I just I'm healthy, I'm ready to go, and I'm fucking pissed off. I'm pissed off about that last fight, even though it was like 4 or 5 months ago. It still pisses me off, and man, I just know that I'm so much better than what was shown that night. So I'm working some things, and I'm specifically working, on improving, and that's what I can't wait to show you guys.
That's right. Well, Cody, fucking proud of you. Thank you for coming on the show and giving us your insight. And man, kill it in practice today. Can't wait to hear a fight announcement coming soon, and enjoy the fights this week.
Hey, let's hope, bro. Let's hope I get one within the next week. Big card, big name. Give me somebody.
Absolutely. My man.
Hey,
Take
buddy.
care, brother. We'll talk soon, all right?
All right.
It's my dog, Cody Durden. You know what I'm saying? I had to get him on the show to talk about the Hadley and Johnson fight. And I felt like we got some great info there. And also shout out Garrett Armfield, man. You know, this is the first time ever talking with him. And remember, we have a contest now. So if you can guess what Garrett Armfield and I have in common, besides being short white dudes, there's two things. He will send you an autographed piece of memorabilia. So, like, I think an autographed UFC hat or a mini poster or something like that. So, next up in the heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Robelis Despaigne. He's 5-0, taking on Waldo Cortes Acosta, who's 11-1 currently. They got it. Robelis, shit, got steamed, minus 245. The comeback on Costa is plus 210. So, yeah. Okay. So when Robles first came into the UFC, he's coming off all these knockouts where, like, let's look at the exact times of these knockouts. Okay. So the first fight he ever had, lasted until the very end of the first round. And he actually got pinned up against the cage for a little while there, but he wasn't actually taken down. Then he got a 12-second knockout, a 3-second knockout, a 4-second knockout. And then it was like time to make your UFC debut, which he ends up getting an 18-second knockout. And I get it. Oh, it's Josh Parisian. Josh Parisian sucks, this and that. Okay. But hear me out for a second. When you look at Josh Parisian, right, and you look at his UFC run, like, whoever did him like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, like, whoever did him like that in the UFC, like, let's look at his Contender Series fight, knocks the guy in the first round. Next fight, loses a decision. Next fight, wins a decision. Next fight gets stopped in like the third round. Next fight, wins a ground and pound. Next fight, loses a decision. Next fight gets Kimura'd in like 4 minutes. And then he just gets ran through in 18 seconds by this guy. Okay, bro. Like, okay. Like, I don't think Waldo would run through that guy in 18 seconds. I think Waldo would win that fight. Don't get it twisted. It's just about, we need to determine and distinguish, is this kid the next Francis Ngannou? Is this guy a total fraud? Or, like, what's the deal? Because he's got the longest reach in UFC history, longer than John Jones, longer than Stefan Struve. That Taekwondo background, I didn't take it as seriously when it came to the UFC because, again, when you're knocking out these cans, it's whatever. But when you do it at the UFC level against a guy who, yeah, Parisian, like I said, he's nothing special, but, like, he got his face humped by Dante Almeida, but still, to get him out in the first exchange, hey, dog, and just, like, to do it going backwards, like, this guy, look, either you recognize talent or you don't. I get it. He hasn't proven it against anyone, but, like, all our favorite fighters hadn't proven it against anyone until they did prove it against someone. Waldo Cortes Acosta, obviously, he's got more MMA experience, more boxing for MMA. But, I mean, again, you look at the guys he's been fighting, and, like, let's just put some context into it. So, okay, Jared Vandera, Chase Sherman, the ghost of Arlovsky. Like, dude, like, you know what would happen if you put Robles Despaigne in there with those guys? He'd knock them all out in the first minute. Like, and Cortes, like, he's people, like, some people are trying to make the argument that Vandera arguably beat him. The Arlovsky fight, like, he's like dancing in there with like a 45-year-old man. There's no takedown threat whatsoever by Cortes Acosta. So it comes down to kicking range versus punching range. And just the athleticism and the size difference here. Could look like an idiot saying this, but I'm on the Despaigne hype train now. And again, what does that truly mean? I don't know what the ceiling is yet, but I know that there's going to be a lot of brutal knockouts along the way. And yeah, that's enough for me to pick him here. And for me to think he's actually probably going to knock out here. I did see Waldo get knocked out in a pure boxing match, which, put whatever stock you want into it. But I'm just saying he can be knocked out. And those were like, what, 14-ounce gloves, 16-ounce gloves. Now we got the 4-ounce gloves. Despaigne stands out. Despaigne seems like he could be something. Like I said, hasn't proven anything yet. Could be a bust, but I don't think so. I think he might be so. Like, at heavyweight, like that style, like you're not used to Taekwondo guys that can get those kicks up there that high, but he's 6'7" with the fucking longest reach, and he's so athletic, and he's an Olympian. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go Despaigne there. Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Chase Hooper, he's 13-3, taking on Slava Claus, Vyacheslav Borschev, who's 7-3-1. Currently, they got it. Vyacheslav Borschev -140. The comeback on Chase Hooper is +120. So, guys, I'm gonna go through these next few breakdowns kind of on the quicker side. You know, I don't like to talk about shit like this, but man, I've been sick as fuck like the last week, dude. Like, just sick as a motherfucking dog, bro. And yeah, like it's not like a fever or anything. It's like that fucking like the pollen has just been fucking with me, dude. Like my throat and just yeah, it's like it's been so annoying, dude. Like trying to get over that as fast as possible. But what I gotta say about Hooper and Borschev, like you guys have heard, this is a pure striker versus grappler matchup. And what's interesting is that Borschev, like when he gets off on his combinations and he starts throwing those punches and bunches, starts digging to the body, like dude's absolutely nasty. But you know what the deal is. Guy does not have the best takedown defense. Now I'll give him credit. His jiu-jitsu's gotten a lot better. He's actually kind of hard to submit, but the takedown defense it's better when he's fresh, but when he's tired, it's like goddamn, he will give up easy takedowns. And with Hooper, I like the fact that he moved up to 155 pounds. He's not cutting ridiculous amount of weight. He's starting to grow into his man body. So there's a lot to respect about Hooper. It's just like, let's not get into any stupid exchanges and let's just not just like stand there and get picked apart like a punching bag, which Hooper is from time to time. Hooper gets his ass whooped and then he comes back and pulls off miracles. This is a fight where I think he can do that. You know, get lit up, just don't get knocked out. And eventually we're going to get this guy down. And I saw someone tweeting some shit about how like, oh, people are trying to act like, you know, Chase Hooper is going to be prime Jordan Burroughs. Like, dog, since when do you have to be prime fucking Jordan Burroughs to take Slava down? Goddamn Dakota Harry Bush took his ass down. So I'm just saying, if Hooper can weather this storm and not get knocked the fuck out, I think he can drag this guy down and either ground and pound TKO or submission. You know, Borschev has been hard to submit. Like I said, I think his jiu-jitsu is getting better. It's just his wrestling is just non-existent. That's the issue, especially when he's tired. And so I'm going Chase Hooper. Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Terrance McKinney, he's 15-6, taking on Esteban Ribovics. Esteban Ribovics, he's 12-1. Representing Argentina. Currently, they got it Esteban -160. The comeback on Terrance is +140. Everyone knows the deal. Terrance McKinney is hell on wheels in that first round. I mean, the guy can knock people out. He can submit people. He's dangerous as hell, but I've always said it. Anytime someone gets matched up with McKinney, like the Nazim guy, I was like, all right, Nazim. I was like, get me past round one, Nazim. Then this fight gets matched up. I'm like, get me past round one, Esteban. You know, Esteban is kind of a slow starter. Gave up a lot of takedowns against Loic and got rocked a few times, but he does get taken down. Like the takedown defense isn't the best, but I like his kind of like Kimura, like kind of trap to get back up to his feet. And then he's still there. He's still fresh. And then he starts letting his hands go. And if he can get me to that, not saying he can't get a first round finish, but saying if he can get me to that 5-6 minute mark, I think he's going to probably finish McKinney, unless McKinney's just matured to a point where, you know, he's overcome that stuff. But McKinney's always like, I want to get a first round finish. And I respect that. I love first round finishers. But as a betting man, you put the fan cap aside and you say, well, these first round finishers, they don't get their first round finish. They're going to get finished. They're going to quit. They're going to look for the way out. They're going to empty the clip. And I think Esteban takes over late and gets a late finish. Next up in the strawweight division, we got a matchup between Tabatha Ricci. She's 9-2, taking on Tecia Torres, who's 13-6. Currently, they got it Tabatha Ricci -140. The comeback on Tecia Torres is +120. So really good fight because Tabatha Ricci, she's kind of been making a name for herself. You know, she's got that jiu-jitsu background, but I guess, you know, her hands have been getting a little better. Let's not exaggerate to the extent, but, you know, a little better. Tecia Torres has always been a ridiculously good athlete. Is it a taekwondo or a karate background? But either way, she can dart in and out. She's been in there with the best of the best, lost to the best. Like, you know the people that Ticia's lost to, right? Like, let's bring this up right now. This is very important. So besides the Mackenzie Dern loss, this girl's only losses are Rose Namajunas, champion. Yes, Jessica Andrade, champion. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, champion. Zhang Wei Li, champion. Marina Rodriguez, top 5 at the time. So, I mean, like, you know, Tisha's been there, done that, man. I actually used to train with Tisha back in the day at my old gym. Like I'm talking 10 plus years ago. She had actually lost a kickboxing match to a girl that used to train at that gym. And Tisha humbled herself and actually came and trained with us for a little bit. But Tisha's one of those that's not necessarily like loyal to a gym. She's kind of loyal to her situation. Hold on one second. Newsome, what's up, bro? Hey, I'm finishing up the podcast. Can you give me like 10 minutes? Okay, yeah, we're good. I'll talk to you in a little bit. All right, buddy? Cheers, Dad. All right, buddy. See ya. My boy Newsome, MMA Play 365. We're about to talk here in a little bit, but yeah. So as far as Tisha, so she came into my gym, my old gym, not my current gym, because she had lost to one of our girls, and she humbled herself and wanted to, you know, train with her. And I think she even won her first Rose Namajunas fight at my old gym. But then, you know, like Tisha's never really been loyal to like a gym per se. She's kind of just she's kind of like wants like the next best thing. So then she goes to ATT and has her very successful UFC career. And now she's, I think, in Colorado with, you know, she's married to the champ, Rocky. I think on Tisha's best day, she wins this fight. It's just, we have to bring up the pregnancy angle, man. I mean, like, dude, like when Jermaine Durandamy came back, she didn't look bad, but like it was like clearly like a 50% drop off of what she used to be. You look at Julia Avila when she came back from having the baby, and it was like, dude, that was like a fucking 100% drop off. That was like a joke. What Avila used to be compared to what she was when she fought Tate, it was like, oh my God. So it's like, what do we expect from Tisha? You know, and I know Tisha has very good genetics, and she's obviously ripped. She's always in the gym, but like, still, is she going to look slightly, you know, digressed a little bit? But the thing is, I've never thought Tabatha Ricci was that special. Like, I think she seems like a cool chick. You know, I enjoy watching her fight, but like just being objective as a betting man, always kind of, I don't know. But like, I think Tisha throws much higher volume. I think Tisha's the better fighter. It's just that pregnancy is just like they never look the same after that. Not at least on the first fight. So we'll go. And again, it's women's MMA, so you don't know. Like, for example, you look at that Lupi Godinez versus Tabatha Ricci fight, where like 2 judges gave it 29-28 Godinez, 1 judge gives it 30-27 Ricci. It's like we're just like staring at her ass the whole fight. So like with these judges, forget about it. I'm gonna pick Tabatha because she's not the one coming off a baby. She is the one with a little momentum, but it would not surprise me if Tisha won this fight. Like Tisha at her best is way better than this chick, but is she at her best is the big question. I don't know. Let's find out. Next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Trey Waters, he's 8-1, taking on Billy Goff, who's 9-2. Currently, they got it. Trey Waters -160. The comeback on Billy Goff is +140. So this is interesting because Trey Waters, that's a big boy for welterweight. 6'5" with a 77-inch reach, kind of got that kind of smooth style, a lot of shoulder rolling, pops his jab at distance. It's nice to watch. And the thing about his opponent, Billy Goff, is he's the complete opposite. For a welterweight, kind of short and stocky. I say short, you know, he's 5'10". He's not that short, but like short compared to 6'5". And Billy Goff's the kind of guy that will give one and take one. And he's like a real life survivor, just survived an insane car wreck. So, dude, the fact that you're making the walk, like, dog, respect, my boy. Like, I got nothing but good things to say about you. I just think that Billy Goff is a little bit too hittable. And, you know, against a guy who's 6'5" with a 77-inch reach, you're going to have to take risks because this guy's going to keep you on the outside at the end of his jab the whole time, the front kicks, everything like that. And you try to close the distance desperately on him, he can fucking crack you. You try to take a sloppy shot on him, he's got some nice front man chokes, like that long-ass guillotine that he tried to hit on Bonfim, but Bonfim expertly passed and got that Von Flue choke, which I was very, very impressed by. So, yeah. And I think like anyone else is getting submitted with that. So I just think Trey Waters, the length, the kind of finesse, the circling on the outside, kind of picking this man apart and eventually getting a finish. I'm curious what the under 2.5 is. Let's see what the total is in this fight. So under 2.5. Oh, like minus 170. Okay, yeah. So that's kind of like what I'm thinking. You know, if it was dog odds, I'd take it there. I mean, both guys are durable, so you never know. But based on how they match up, I think someone might hit the deck, and I think that's probably gonna be Goff. So I'm gonna go Trey Waters here to get that done. So we talked about Hadley and Johnson. We talked about Gooden and Jousset. So last but not least, let's talk about JJ Aldrich, who's 13-6, taking on Veronica Hardy, who's 8-4. Currently, they got it. Veronica Hardy minus 140. The comeback on JJ Aldrich is plus 120. So from a market perspective, I can see why people take JJ here. I mean, when you're like minus 400 against Lipski and now you're plus 120 against Veronica Hardy, and again, you can't always put stock into stuff like that because that minus 400 against Lipski was obviously wrong. You know, that doesn't mean she needs to be minus 400 here, but I'm just saying with these women's fights that are often 50-50, hit or miss, like split decision type fights, probably dog or pass, but I've been enjoying the improvements from Hardy. Like she took like some time off from her initial stint, you know, has been hitting the weight room, the strength and conditioning room, got the right people around her. And she's always had skills. She's been fast, the in and out, the combinations. She's got nice armbar off her back as Polyana Viana. And she's gotten a lot better about getting back up from bottom and just kind of like fixing the holes that plagued her early on. Whereas JJ, she's been the same JJ Aldrich the entire time. You know, southpaw, hands very high up, circles on the outside, lower volume. If you're not quite on her level, she will expose you. But I think that Veronica is leveled up to where she can get this done. I don't like the slight chalk price personally, but I'm going to go Veronica Hardy to win this decision. Well, my friends, we did it. I truly, sincerely appreciate you guys for everything. Thank you to my guest, Cody Durden, Garrett Armfield. Make sure y'all enter my contest with Garrett Armfield. What are the two things we have in common that besides being short white dudes? You tell me that, and we'll find a winner, and he'll send you some autographed memorabilia. So yeah, thank you. Smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave me a comment if you feel so inclined, share as well. I appreciate that. And thank you guys. Oh, and one more thing. If you missed my announcement on Twitter, so y'all that watch my fight breakdowns, don't worry. My fight breakdowns are staying here. You got nothing to worry about. So if you only want to watch my fight breakdown, keep watching them. Thank you very much. But I want to go in a different direction on other fronts. Not the fight breakdowns. Fight breakdowns, like only people that know what they're talking about are going to be on my show. You know that. But I have so many broad interests. I love music. I love movies. I love all kinds of sports. I just love interesting people. I want to talk to people from all walks of life. And yeah, and just half the battle doesn't just have to be about MMA. So you're going to see more content from me. I need you guys to not freak out when you see me interviewing like a metal band or a rock band or some actor or whatever the case may be. Know that these breakdowns will still be here. So please support them. If you guys like my other content, support that too. If not, just stick around for these. And I really, really appreciate you guys. So thank you very much. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.